Residents in Ferguson, Missouri are still marching to demand justice for the fatal shooting of unarmed teenager Michael Brown by police officer Darren Wilson. The confrontation touched off weeks of rioting in the St. Louis suburb, putting a spotlight on accusations of police discrimination and excessive force. U.S. Attorney General Eric Holder says the Justice Department is launching a civil rights investigation into Ferguson's police department.
In Ferguson, our investigation will assess the police department's use of force, including deadly force. It will analyze stops, searches, and arrests, and it will examine the treatment of individuals detained at Ferguson's city jail, in addition to other potentially discriminatory policing techniques and tactics that have been brought to light.
Holder says the probe will look into allegations that Ferguson police have repeatedly treated the town's black residents in an abusive way. There is also criticism that Ferguson police officers are trained poorly. The Washington Post reports at least 5 current Ferguson officers and 1 former officer are facing federal lawsuits accusing them of excessive force. Georgetown University law professor Anthony Cook says the Justice Department investigation will help lower tensions in Ferguson.
I think it's incredibly important when you are dealing with a situation like this where there is pervasive distrust with regard to the ability of the local law enforcement officers to do their jobs in a competent and objective, unbiased manner. It quells some of the discontent and anxiety to have the federal government pursuing a parallel investigation.
Police officials say Michael Brown assaulted Officer Darren Wilson and tried to take his gun, but witnesses say Brown was shot multiple times even though he ran away from Wilson and had his arms raised in surrender. The Justice Department investigation will focus on practices at other police departments in St. Louis County. James Thomas was awarded $47,000 in a civil lawsuit against a police department near Ferguson for being stopped and harassed by an officer.
I felt violated. I felt threatened. I felt that he was going to do some physical harm. I didn't know because I thought it was pretty extreme to lock me up for no reason, and especially if my tire touched the yellow line on the street.
Nearly 70% of the city's population is black, but there are only 3 African-American officers of the 53 on the force. Federal officials say they will look into hiring practices at Ferguson's police department, but at a later date. Meanwhile, residents in the community are awaiting results of a local grand jury investigation on whether criminal charges will be brought against Officer Wilson for shooting Michael Brown. Simkins, VOA News, Washington.